what happens when a woman doesn't just rise, but brings an entire generation of leaders with her? Welcome to Seizing Your Greatness. I'm Julianne Meyer, and today's guest is not only a two-time top 100 thought leader, she's a catalyst for global change. Neeraja Ganesh went from a 25-year career in IT to becoming one of the most sought-after voices in leadership development and gender advocacy. As a TEDx speaker, global keynote presenter, and the powerhouse behind the TrailBlazHERs leadership initiative, she's empowering women around the world to own their voice, tell their stories, and lead with intention. She's been named WomenTech Network Speaker of the Year, featured in Magical 40 at 40, and continues to mentor through platforms like Aspire for Her and Her Key, proving that real leadership is about lifting others as you rise. Neeraja, it is an honor to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you, Julie. And I am looking forward to our conversation today.
Me too. I have been looking forward to this since a mutual friend of ours introduced us. And I said just a few of your accomplishments. There's so many more things that you've done and who you are. But I wanted to share some of my favorite of your accomplishments. That being said, what is something that people can't find out about you on the internet that you're proud of?
So, Julie, a very tough question to answer because the internet knows everything.
True.
I will definitely tell you something that I think I've never narrated before on any of the shows. But I will also speak about something, while some people may have heard of it, I do want to tell people through this show, right?
Mhm.
And why do I say that it's very difficult for the internet not to know? And I'm going to tell you something that I did today, just before coming to the show today. I Googled for one of the shows that I have been on. It was Ambassador Terry's, he calls it What Are You Doing? A 5-minute podcast. Okay. Now, I Googled for that for some reason. And AI, when you Google, so the first is the AI write up that comes, and it said something about his show, and it said Neeraja Ganesh appeared on his show, and I was wondering why, because he recently celebrated 200th episode, which means there were 200 guests. So I thought, okay, maybe this is because I'm logged in through my system. But I went and did this check from my husband's also, and it said that. And that's why I'm saying it's very difficult for me to tell you a story which nobody knows, because I've kind of narrated many stories from my life. But this one will be interesting. So many years ago, I was suddenly summoned to travel overseas by my office, and my passport had expired.
Oh.
So I was just wondering what to do. It was an emergency, like in a week's time, I had to be there. So I asked around, and one of my friends said, there is an agent who helps people, get this passport done very fast. So I contacted him. He said, Madam, you go and, line up in the queue after having taken the appointment. I will get this done for you very, very quickly. So I was there standing in the queue from 6 a.m. in the morning, and nothing was happening. And I was like, what is the point of paying this guy if I have to stand in the queue for hours together? So I was calling him. I made a couple of calls to him because I'd never seen him before. All I knew was his phone number. And then suddenly, when I made a call a third time, the person on the other side said, Madam, where are you? I'll come and I will, kind of take you inside. And the person came to me, and he definitely didn't look like an agent. He was really well dressed up, and he was the passport officer.
Oh,
He was the big boss of this office. So he had confiscated this guy's phone, and those of us who were trying to get it done through this agent, he kind of caught all of us, and he took me inside his office. Now, long story short, I was trembling with fear. I thought I'm going to be in jail, all of that. But he just asked me one question. He said, you definitely look so educated. What is wrong with my office that you had to do this, through the agent, because this is not legal? Look at our office, look at our systems. We've kind of put everything in place. And if people like you don't follow the system, that what happens? And
Mm.
I'll tell you, it just kind of broke me that day. It was such a powerful question and a lesson to say that everybody is trying to do the best for everyone. Why can't we just be a little more patient and try it out? So I don't think that story would be available anywhere.
Oh, I love that story because, oh, it gave me chills actually. It is a story of patience and assuming the best in everyone. And I think that, I'm glad you were able to travel.
Yes. I got it in 2 days. I went through the system and I got it in 2 days. So that's how efficient the system is. But sometimes we
Wow.
just panic, we don't believe in it, and we do all of this.
Exactly. And we don't trust the process.
Yes.
Exactly. Wow, that is a wonderful story. I love that you came from IT as well, because that is more of a male dominated industry, even to this day. It's definitely, there's a lot more women now than there used to be. But did that lead to your advocacy for women? Is that part of what was your catalyst?
So one of them is definitely that and 25 years in IT, and then after that, now for the last 7 years, I have been into this. So I'm really ancient. So in those days, we didn't have too many women for sure. But I think
Mhm.
what actually triggered was this. Now, this is the other one which I did want to say, but some people who have heard me will know of this. I was an extremely meek, timid, shy girl. Now,
Hmm.
nobody believes this today, right? But I was growing up in school, in college, and for the first 10 years of my work experience, I did not say hello to the person who was sitting next to me. I was that meek. I was that timid. Okay. And what happened was my manager had to travel overseas for 6 months, and they wanted to appoint a new leader. And in those days, I'm talking, many, many years ago, leadership was all about the most technically qualified person. They didn't look at other attributes that we talk about today, right? And I
Mhm.
happened to be the most technically qualified in this team of 10 people, and they were all equally good. I was probably a few, inches taller, I may say, right? And they put me in the role. And now, when I was in the role, I realized there's so much that I need to speak about and speak against because there was a lot of transformation that was going through. Our team was subjected to a lot of, wrong things. Like people were saying,
Mhm.
we're not delivering as required. Customers were, a bit crazy. Other stakeholders were. The organization was going through a lot of change. And I realized my team was looking up to me to do something about all of this.
Mhm.
And in this role, if I didn't speak up, then, this role is really not, I'm not doing justice to the role. So I spoke up. And when I spoke up, I actually spoke to the managing director of the organization about a couple of things. He heard me
Mhm.
and he brought about some changes as I advised him, if I can, say that. And that was for the better of not only the team, for the rest of the organization. And I realized that it's important to speak up. Now, if I think about it, if my manager had not traveled, nobody would have given me that opportunity. And maybe I would have stayed the same meek, timid, shy Neerja. How many people get such opportunities due to luck or some triggers? So I want women to find opportunities for themselves or create opportunities for themselves, and that's why I decided I'm going to do this kind of mentor, guide, facilitate through programs and say, go look out for opportunities, grab them, or create them for yourselves.
Oh, I love that so much. I personally believe that there are no accidents and that was your catalyst to step into this next iteration of who you are so that you can be that person and that guiding light for others. So thank you for stepping up to the challenge because otherwise we wouldn't be here today having this conversation.
Absolutely.
Real quick before we talk about what I really want to like tap into, I just want to acknowledge the fact that women and men too, but we're women. We're talking more towards the female audience today. Is that we don't have to define our future as to who we've always been. And you're a living example of that. You have
That's
proven that you don't have to keep being that same person if you choose that you want something else for yourself. So, um, you're a living example, and I think that's beautiful. But
Thank you.
now that you're coaching, you're leading, you're speaking, you're on stages everywhere. You created TrailBlazHERs, and I think that was such an awesome name, and I would love to know how that came about.
Sure. When I moved out of my corporate career, because I did want to do some work in the space of women and women leadership, I was heading a not-for-profit foundation. And when you are in such roles, you get invited to speak, at platforms. So I used to go and speak. And the women who were listening in, they would come and tell me, Neeraja, we've never heard anything like this before because you're narrating your stories, like I narrated some stories today. And these stories tell us that because you were also in situations like we are in today, and if you could make a change for yourselves, then we can make a change for ourselves. And I found that very profound. I said, all I'm doing is sharing my life experiences. And if that can change mindsets, I should do more of this, right? So I got
Mhm.
on to, wherever an opportunity presented itself, be it stages, conferences, podcasts, appearances, I started writing. And people started inviting me to do programs. It could be 1 hour programs, it could be 1 year long programs. And I would just kind of go based on the requirement. So if a customer said, I want you to tell our or talk to our people about networking, then I'll create something around that. If it's work-life integration, I would create something around that. And then we used to kind of package 5 or 6 of those things together when it was a long-term leadership journey. And I realized through my 25 years of work experience, all the mentoring that I've done, all these programs that I've facilitated, that women need to know only 4 or 5 things. Okay, they're just 5 or 6 things, starting from why are you doing what you're doing, the the purpose behind everything, because we can tell them many things, do it this way, do it that way. And in fact, Julie, today I don't even think we need to tell anyone because AI tells us everything. But if you don't know why you want to do something, then how much ever you're guided, you're not going to be able to make that shift. So the first module of Trailblazers is the power of purpose. And then I've got 5 or 6 modules after that, which talks about work-life integration, negotiation at work and at home. Home is most important. And of course, at work, assertive communication, networking, personal branding. Some of these things, I've put it into the 6 month framework along with group coaching. Because what happens with shorter programs, right? You'll come, you'll listen. If you have the intention, you will implement it. Otherwise, you'll just go back into your usual life. So, with a 6 month program where there is group coaching, then you are bound to implement. And if you didn't see success, then we get back into, okay, what is it that didn't work? Why did it
Mhm.
not work? So you really see the transformation. And that's how TrailBlazHERs came by. I said, okay, this is exactly what women need. I don't think you need anything more. So we kind of created and packaged this program and I launched it.
I love that. Something you said that I really want to touch on is this idea of going back and seeing what works and what doesn't work. And for me, it's as simple. And this is something I don't know why it took me forever to figure out, but it's great to set an intention, say for the day. But if you don't check in at the end of the day, that's only half of it. So I love
True,
this
very
idea.
true.
Yeah, yeah, I love this idea of I don't really necessarily like the word accountability, but just really seeing where you are and what's working and what isn't, because there's nothing wrong with it, but why keep doing something that's not working? You're literally exchanging your life for this. So why
Correct.
not make it as positive as possible? So I'm curious, as a woman, what are some of the challenges that you think we face that maybe men don't?
Okay, the first one is the self doubt. Men may face it. I'm not denying it because some of my male friends come and say, oh, it's not a woman's thing, right? Even we face it. But the difference is they don't let it come in the way.
Mm.
So if you were to kind of put out a role or a stretch, or Julie's show, I'm going to tell a woman and a man, here is an opportunity, apply to be on Julie's show. The man will say, of course, I am the person to be on her show. But the woman will, look up your show and say, oh, look at the guests that she brought in and look at where all it's going to get streamed. I think I need to work for another few months, few years. work on myself, and then I should present myself to Julie. The self-doubt, and we kind of keep ourselves behind. So self-doubt, imposter syndrome, the perfectionist, kind of it's not a syndrome, but we want to be perfect. These
Mhm.
are the things which kind of keep the woman behind. And men may experiences, but they don't care. They put
Yeah.
up their hand and they'll be right in front of you. So what if they are only 50%? Nobody knows that they were only 50% ready, right? Only they know. But the woman thinks the whole world knows that I'm only 90% ready and there's a 10% gap.
That is so true. It's like we think there's a neon sign flashing, announcing all of what we consider our shortcomings, things that nobody else notices. I think that that's very accurate. I know that's true for me, and also speaking with women. And plus, I think too with that idea is that carrot of being ready always seems to keep moving further away. So you
Yes.
never get to where you think you need to be.
Absolutely, absolutely. And even if you say, okay, I'm going to take 2 days to practice and come,
Mhm.
somebody else would have come in those 2 days and picked up the opportunity and, kind of just taken it
And run
off.
with it, yeah. I love that. So I know that, I know you've done a lot of mindset work, with yourself, obviously. We can tell from the way that you speak, but I do know that you're still human like the rest of us. And I am quite certain that you still run into doubts and things of that nature from time to time. And I'm
Sure.
curious how it is that you through it without it stopping you. Is there certain things that you do to stop that train of thought? How do you do that?
So I call it my mantra. Okay. There's a question that I ask. What's the worst that can happen? Yeah, it's just that. It's a very powerful question. It's a very simple question. May it sound dumb, but let's ask the question, what's the worst that can happen? And you will get a response from yourself, from the imposter which is sitting
Mhm,
within you, or maybe the other person. If you're asking, your friend, okay, if I go in here, what's the worst that can happen? He or she will give you a response.
mhm,
If you think you can deal with that answer, whatever that is, right? Go for it. So for me, if the response to that question is loss of life,
mhm.
loss of my life or somebody else's life, then I won't do that. Anything else, like getting thrown out of the studio, getting thrown out of Julie's show, getting thrown out of the office, doesn't matter because I know we can always find something else later. But let me try this out because if I don't try, I will never know. So that question has really guided me throughout my life whenever
Mm.
I have had doubts. And how did I transform? I mean, you don't believe it, Julie, but there are many people who have seen me in that stage. I was so meek. And today, when they see and listen to me in some of these podcasts or on stages, they say, "Neeraja, is that the same Neeraja?" And that question has guided me in taking decisions about what roles to pick up. I actually quit my corporate career without a job. Okay, without
Wow.
another, you know, venture or job which would keep me financially, savvy. I quit. So I asked the same question: what's the worst that can happen? Well, I probably will have to shop lesser. Yes. Otherwise, for 25 years, I'm sure all of us have kind of made some good investments. So I said, let's go for it and figure out.
I love that. I've done something similar. It's just kind of like jumping and expecting the net to be there.
Very true.
Oh, I love that you did that because that is, and it's one thing if you're 18. It's another thing if you're 25 years into a career to walk away from what we consider steady. And it's I'm using air quotes here, safe, because it isn't actually. It's, probably
True.
something that's not fulfilling your soul in the way that what you do now does. So Yeah, I love that. As a fellow speaker and somebody who, has I used to be meek as well, which is very interesting. Most people don't realize that about me either. Not as quite as meek as you, but definitely an introvert and definitely quiet. And I never really spoke up unless I was forced to. But I'm just curious because there are so many women out there that would also like to get on stages and um I don't know, use their voice. So is there something that you would recommend for women who want to start down that path? Or
Sure,
even, yeah, and then second, well, I'm sorry, this is going to be a two-parter. That,
sure.
and then also, what is something that they probably haven't thought of that they need to?
So, first of all, the why is very important. And I'll tell you, Julie, many, many people, like men, but a lot of women who come to me and say, Neeraja, I would like to be on stages. How do I get onto a stage? How do I get those opportunities?
Mhm.
The why is important. Why do you want to be on the stage? It's good to be on the stage, for sure. But the why is very important. Not because Neerja or Julie is doing it or somebody else is doing it, right? Then,
Mhm.
then you're really not going to achieve what you wanted to. Is it for fame? Is it for money? I mean, those are good things. It will come your way, for sure. It will come your way. But if you don't know the underlying why, I mean, Julie must have a reason for starting this TV show. It's
Mhm.
not because of only Julie has to be seen everywhere. That was something more underlying. So,
Oh,
similarly, my underlying purpose was I want to bring about a mindset shift. Now,
Mm.
I didn't know how to do it. I used to do one on one mentoring. And then suddenly, when people started hearing me on stages through the not for profit foundation where I was heading, I realized that's bringing about the transformation. So I said, okay, let me be on as many stages as I can. Because with mentorship, there's only that much you can do. But when you go on a stage, there are 100, 200,000 people listening to you. So that my intention to do anything, even kind of having this conversation with you or writing a book or writing an article is, can I bring about a mindset change?
Mm.
So, the first thing for anyone who wants to be a speaker, please understand and figure out why do you want to do it? Okay, that's the first. And then the second is always ask, why me? Why will
Mm.
somebody choose me? Bring out that differentiator. Everybody has unique abilities. I'm not saying that only I have or somebody else has, but the differentiator has to be brought to notice. Otherwise,
Mhm.
this is also a crowded market.
It
The
is.
industry is exploding with speakers. So the niche that you have, it could be the subject matter expertise, it could be your style, your delivery, whatever that be. So identify that. It's exactly like how you apply for a job. Why you?
Mhm.
Why should you be selected, right? So understand. So get your purpose right, and then what is your niche? What is your USP because of which somebody should select you and kind of host you on that stage is very, very
Mhm.
important. And the third one is build your brand. How do you get the opportunities? It's only when you're visible, right? So
Mhm.
continuously network and build your brand. That is paramount.
Oh, I love that. And what's maybe something that people don't expect that you've come across when it comes to creating this brand for yourself and for your audience?
Um, it's been a long journey. It didn't happen overnight, right? So, 20, I'll tell you so that people can calculate. 2019 is when I moved out to the not for profit foundation and I said, this is something I want to do. And
Mhm.
in 2019, I felt nobody knows me except for those circles where I used to be. So I must offer my services, which is the talks, free of cost because nobody's going to pay me, right? So I would go out. I would go to these co-working spaces. I would, reach out left, right, center to people and say, hey, I have a few things that I can talk about. Would you like to host me?
Mhm.
And then in 2020, I said, okay, now maybe I can ask for a small fee. Okay. And it was a small fee. This is how we think. It's a small fee. And I started getting the small fee. And then we know what happened in 2020. It was COVID. Nobody's going to pay you. But people reached out to me to do a lot of free talks.
Mm.
Between April and December of 2020, I must have done at least 60 talks virtually, which means I was on, talks every, like 2 or 3 every week.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't care about the audience, whether there was one person listening or 100 people listening.
Yeah.
What it did to me was, one, they were doing the marketing. So I was getting my branding. And
Yeah.
because it was virtual, every talk was recorded. So I had some collateral coming back to me, which I could use later. And then in 2021, when things started looking up, I could use all of this. I had created my content. I had got a good brand visibility,
Mm-hmm.
and there was all these recordings available. I could pitch myself to corporates, to platforms, and then up my fee and be
Mm-hmm.
and that's been a journey. So it doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey for everybody. Keep at it. Consistency is a must.
Ah, I love
Consistency
that.
is a must.
I love that. Thank you so much. On that note, we actually are out of time. I could go on with you for another hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours. I don't even know. But I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show. I truly, truly appreciate you being here today.
Enjoyed it, Julie, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. And if you want to reach out, her information is in the show notes as well. And thank you everyone for watching. We will be back again next week on Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.